Durand Institute. Age cannot wither, nor custom stale. Remember me?
He was a drama instructor.
Oh, come on. What would he be doing here?
So I'll get to California a day later. It's really wonderful seeing the old campus, the young faces.
I don't think I did very well on that third question.
You don't? Was it a final?
Yeah, I didn't write enough on it.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it, though. I bet you get a high
The joy,
pass. You studied all night.
the agony.
Yeah, the first one was pretty easy.
One generation removed.
I'm not exactly dissatisfied. I find that the kids I have in my sections have been doing quite well.
Well, the board scores are certainly better. I hope we're getting as much improvement as I think we should.
We'd get it if we could get them to work.
Carol, are you going to the beach party tonight?
Gee, I don't
Beach
know.
party.
Maybe I'll see you there.
Does anything really change?
Oh, I spent the summer in Mississippi. I can tell you, the law isn't enough. They're afraid.
Yes, I guess some things do change. They have to grow up faster, cover a lot more ground.
Incidentally, I checked out your bromoisoxazole. Looks good.
Are the infrareds okay?
Fine.
Yes, maybe they are different, these kids, in the age of technology.
And on top of that, he doesn't just play them, he composes them, man. He's really on
The beard. New symbol of the old search for your own identity. Maybe even tougher these days, finding yourself, learning to relate to the world through the small world of college.
Are you going to the football game this afternoon?
Gee, I can't, Dave. I got to work.
The working man. Okay, we'll see you later.
So long, and check on that psych assignment for me.
Yeah, I will. And don't forget the book.
You going to the library?
Yes, I will work at the library.
Good for you. I had a job when I was here, too, a few years back.
Ah, an alumnus. I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah, I'm meeting President Cole in the new library. That must be it, huh?
No, that's the commons there. You know, dining room, lounges, bowling alleys. That's the library over there. Say, aren't you an actor? Movies or something?
I'm Dick Widmark.
I'm Bill Cole, so glad you could make it.
Oh, I'm glad, too. It's really quite an experience seeing the campus again.
I imagine you must find it quite changed.
Oh, I should say so. All the new buildings, yes. It's a beautiful library. It must be twice the size of the old one.
Almost 4 times the size in shelf space.
An expanding universe.
Well, we're expanding the physical facilities, and perhaps most important of all, the faculty. But we're still committed to keeping Lake Forest a small college. We believe very strongly in preserving the sort of atmosphere where students can know one another and where teachers can know students. We regard this as an indispensable part of a liberal arts education.
I see. So you're not competing in numbers.
No, certainly not. Nor are we trying to compete in creating a lopsided intellectual atmosphere. Of course, we want students who have the capacity to do high-level academic work.
But with other qualities as well, huh?
Exactly. We try to create a balance between the intellectual academic life and some of the other qualities of community life as well. We're concerned with student government, with musical, with literary, with athletic activities. We're interested in, to use a somewhat corny but I think nonetheless accurate phrase, the whole man.
Yes, I've felt that just walking around the campus. The students do seem to represent a wide variety of types.
Yes, and this has been quite deliberately cultivated in our admissions policy. We now draw students from 44 states and from about 23 foreign countries. We feel that students learn from each other at least as powerfully as they do from their teachers. Therefore, we try to create as great a cross-section on the campus as we possibly can.
Well, that seems to make sense.
Take, for example, that boy over there in the checkered shirt, Norm Johnson, his name is. He's doing independent research in physics this year. He's a scholarship student. I wish we could afford more like him.
The other one is just about empty anyway. Yeah. Hi, Norm.
Hi.
I hear you're having problems.
Yeah, just a little bit.
What's happening?
Well, we're getting a beam down to the focus plate of about 10 to the minus 9 amps, but we're only getting 10 to the minus 12 down to the electrostatic analyzer.
What have you tried? What's the accelerating voltage here?
1800.
Well, that should be enough. You've been getting more than that at the other end with 1800 volt lines.
We've maximized the current as much as we can. We've played around with the photon energy and the magnets and the deflecting plates.
No gas in the gas cell, is there?
No.
Deflecting voltage is off, you said?
Yeah, and we even adjusted the voltage on the focus plate back and forth to get the maximum beam.
So now you've got 10 to the minus 9 amps at the front end of the machine, and you can only get 10 to the minus 12 amps at the back plate of the electrostatic analyzer, right?
I thought it might have been the hydrogen bottle, so I refilled it.
It's a little unlikely that that's contaminated because you're getting an adequate beam at the front end of the machine, so the mass spectrometer must be essentially working.
I see, yeah.
It's not an impressive beam, but it's adequate. Was the system clean the last time we put cesium in?
Yeah, we cleaned the gas cell and the beam deflector.
But not the cesium oven?
No, no one touched that.
It may be that some cesium on the slits oxidized, formed an insulating film there.
How are things going today?
We're having troubles getting the proton beam through the apparatus.
Well, I have a class now, but I'll come back and give you a hand when I finish.
Thanks.
Dr. Mead, I'm interested in pursuing a major in international relations with a government major.
Hi, fellas.
Well, George, I'm glad to hear of your interest in international relations. We've tried to design our government major so that people who are interested in this area can take special courses that are of value to them.
What particular courses are necessary for this major?
Well, we particularly recommend such courses as a course in international relations, another course in international organization, a course in foreign policy and diplomacy, a course in comparative government.
What is the importance of a graduate degree for such a field?
This, I would say, depends entirely, George, upon what you're thinking about doing after you get out of college. Do you have some particular vocational interests? Just what are your plans, George?
Well, I hope to go into international correspondence for journalism.
Well, for this kind of vocation, I think that a lot of people who are in this area find that they are able to go into it immediately upon graduating from college. Some people do go on to graduate school and find that they are better equipped, but this is something that I think you can find out as you come closer toward the end of your college career.
Well, to get back to the undergraduate work, how important is a language?
Language is essential. In fact, it's required for all majors, and in the case of a person in international relations, we require that you have 6 terms of a foreign language of your choice. This means that you might take French or German or Spanish or Russian.
Well, I'm presently involved with taking Russian. Russia itself being an important subject today, naturally. I thought there might be a future in that. Telegrammu. Telegrammu mój możecie posłać отсюда. Туда, куда вы хотите ее отправить. В Нью-Йорк. Сколько стоит слово? 25 копеек.
How's your Russian coming?
Hi. Very slowly. I'm certainly having my difficulties with it.
Well, don't get discouraged. It does take time.
How much time?
About 2 hours every day.
I've put in an hour. My mind's no longer receptive. I have to get over to English class. Could you take care of this tape for me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Scotland. His family are always at a snit about him, as you can well imagine. So Boswell's whole life is just a series of great noble intentions and weak failings. This is one reason why the Boswell papers were so difficult to come by. After his death, the relatives very carefully stashed them away. Had they not been Scotsmen, they probably would have burned them all, and that would have been the end to it. But instead, they were hoarded away and kept until they finally came to life then in the 20th century, and have given us this view of a personality and a view of an age, all written in really rather fascinating fashion. If in the 18th century Boswell was, with Dr. Johnson, almost a walking tape recorder, you know, recording everything that the good doctor said and all of his mannerisms and characteristics, he was for himself, really, a walking camera, and sort of a walking thermometer. Boswell was always taking his emotional temperature, and he was always so busy seeing as much as he possibly could and noting. There's no question about how much he could note. Boswell wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote prodigiously. The history of the discovery of the Boswell papers in the 20th century is in itself a very fascinating story. It's exciting stories with all kinds of dues, you know, all kinds of negotiations over cucumber sandwiches, all adding up to a cool $250,000, which is what the Boswell papers finally were sold for when the treasures at Malahide Castle were made available to everyone. And there were endless treasures. Practically no door or closet of Malahide Castle could be opened, but there were Boswell papers. Croquet boxes yielded Boswell papers. Chicken coops had Boswell papers. So much so that there is now a Boswell factory at Yale where generations of graduate students will find much, I think, to occupy themselves. The things that made Boswell such a very, very good biographer make him a very good diarist and a reflector not only of himself but that world which was his oyster, usually giving him more indigestion, I think, than pearls. But still in all, there was Boswell, always a twit to life, you know. He was terribly interested in people and the right people. Even though he never became great friends with the king, he certainly found Dr. Johnson and became a very good friend of Dr. Johnson, who was never a fool. Dr. Johnson was very fond of Boswell. Imagine Dr. Johnson being lured out to the Hebrides. Dr. Johnson hated Scotland. The Hebrides are just beyond Scotland, practically, in days when traveling was very difficult. And you have scenes of Dr. Johnson astride some poor little weak ass, Dr. Johnson, some, you know, great, huge, you know, and the poor donkey plowing out in the middle of absolutely nothing, you know, with Boswell pointing out scenic beauties along the way. Obviously, this is a man who must have had a great deal of charm and wit to have ever lured Dr. Johnson away from the city of London.
First and 10 over one on their own 4.
Let's go, Big Red, let's go! Let's go, Big Red, let's go! Let's go, Big Red, let's go! Let's go, Big Red, let's go!
All right, 250.
my brothers and sisters all over this land. Ooh, I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I ring out danger, I ring out warning, I ring out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land.
People have reached a middle class level where they live comfortably, and so they just neglect. I think until just recently, when we started this war on poverty, people have just ignored the poor.
Well, of course, in writing about poverty in the United States, Michael Harrington calls his book The Other America, which implies to me at least that it is partially invisible or something that most of us don't come in contact with all the time. Jane?
Well, I think it's a question of social awareness. I think people in other countries, European and Asiatic countries, have much less social awareness than we do. I know an exchange student from Pakistan. This poverty, it's totally accepted. There is no answer, and nobody worries about it.
Why do we worry about it then?
Well, I think the problem is really viewed in several perspectives. On the one hand, I think we view the general problem of poverty as such merely in terms of what our society is capable of, and talk about those who are in relative poverty according to general wealth of the society. There is on the one hand, a moral problem involved, or say a problem of equity maybe, as to whether it is right that within this sort of affluent society there are a great number of people who do live in relative poverty. So there's this moral question, and it also is one of importance to the kind of general future or progress of the society as a whole. If you have, say, in the United States, people who are uneducated, whose potentials have not been tapped, whose resources are lying dormant, possibly can be used. This is one kind of waste, which is tragic, both on the part of the individuals and on the part of society. Also, that those who are relegated to that position become discontented with society at large and become potential sources of trouble for the society at large as well. So there are many ways in which to approach or to look upon what exactly the problem is.
But I think what's happening in America is we're creating a number of different cultures where, let's say, a very ambitious boy, let's say a Puerto Rican slum child or a Negro slum child or a white Appalachian person, may have tremendous amounts of native talent, but he is blocked by a very tight cultural separation from entering the society. Think of a very bright boy in the mountains of Kentucky taking a college boards test as competing against a mediocre prep school boy. Now, one may potentially offer so much more to society, and yet his fate has blocked him out. I think we need a very specialized, creative, and imaginative type of educational methods to bring these people into the larger society.
Oh, I know, just working with children coming from slum areas in Boston, there's when they were out of this condition, they became highly motivated, and they were more motivated than children of a middle-class background in the same situation. But you take the child in, you teach them something academically, and then you take them out and you do something with them, and all of a sudden you see their eyes light up, and finally the world is meaning something to them. But then what do? You leave them at their house, at their tenement, or at their one-family house, 3 families in it, and they enter this stagnant slum, and they say, "Mom, I learned something today. The world is really beautiful." And the mother, who has just enough money or time to drag herself from work, says, "So what, kid? She's got enough problems of her own. What are you coming home with this big idea for? I got enough problems. Go in your room and do your homework." And this is a big problem. You can't blame it on the parents, because they've gone through all this and been completely shattered. But in turn, the child gets shattered too.
Yes. Why does the problem exist? This puzzles me as a historian, that the most prosperous nation in history should find itself forced to confront a problem that involves millions and millions of people. Puzzling, isn't it? Yes.
I think back to the waves of immigrants who came to this country near the beginning of the century. They were fairly readily assimilated into the economy because jobs were available. At the moment, this is no longer the case. We have an unemployment problem. We're confronted also by the prospects of automation and whether this will whether this will be our servant or whether it will be our master. I mean, at the moment, automation is capable of replacing literally all unskilled and some semi-skilled labor, and what we're going to do about this, which might be a good point to jump into a discussion as to exactly what can be done combating poverty.
Well, this is what I was bringing up earlier, that we have to provide more than the aid. The aid can let in the possibilities of doing other things, but we have to provide a motivation, if not for the adults, for the children, so that the children won't grow up to live on welfare themselves. Also, we have to provide an opportunity, if not for the adults, again for the children, so that the children will have some place to go when they rise out of this squalor, rise out of the poverty, and become, you know, active and trained people.
But you can't rip them away from their parents.
To a certain extent, you can.
To a certain extent, but what are you going to do? You're going to set up little children's nurseries or something and take them to their parents? Americans don't stand for that.
Tutorial programs do this.
Of course, our tutorial project here at school operates in the town of Waukegan, which is about 10 miles north of here, which is a microcosm of Chicago and has all of its problems, and as well as several settlement houses in the Chicago area. And mostly we tutor children in their school subjects to try and better them academically. We also take them on field trips to points of interest around the Chicago area.
It's fantastic when you start working with these kids to realize how poverty does isolate people. Here they are, physically anyway, right in the middle of one of our great cultural centers. Museums, libraries, all sorts of educational opportunities, most of them free. And they might as well be in another world.
Yeah, like the girl in the slums of New York who wanted to see the Pacific Ocean. She wasn't even aware that the Atlantic Ocean was just down the street. Almost literally just down the street.
Well, as Harrington says, it's not just a matter of housing or even jobs. It takes new orientation, new goals. And that's the hardest part. Sometimes you go into these homes and there's a lot of antagonism. The parent maybe doesn't want the child to learn. Doesn't want a third grader coming home knowing more than they know.
Instead of looking at this problem as getting an immediate solution, there is no immediate solution. There are many, many problems that lead up to the number one problem, which is poverty. And we have to start someplace. You have to start someplace to alleviate the problem.
This, to me, is where comes the advantage of things like tutorial programs. People roll up their sleeves and get in there and go to work. They go to the homes. Social work figures into this too. And there's going to be resentment that has to be overcome because obviously an old man or a man who's been doing nothing for some time doesn't really like the idea of someone coming in and telling him what he should be doing or telling him anything. There's a certain pride that is lost in this. But a program where people get out and work and really have an interest in it, and this is where we're doing some good. I think the hope lies in the children, especially.
The individual program may be...
I'm sure you'll agree, Mr. Widmark, that the whole concept of this tutorial program, the student interest that sparked the idea in the first place, that has set it up and developed it, and in part even finances it, this is something of which Lake Forest can indeed be very proud.
Yes, I would think so. There does seem to be a new spirit in students today, a seriousness, a quickening, perhaps, real involvement with issues.
Yes, I think the times in which we're living demand this, not only from students, but from educators as well. We simply can't afford the old leisurely pace that ruled the campus even as recently as a generation ago. The rapidity with which knowledge is exploding in our modern world, the highly dangerous, highly charged situation in which we live, moving us to the edges of crises constantly. This means that today we have to be in deadly earnest, not only in learning, but also in action as well. And this is what we try constantly to do, both in the classroom and out, is to make what we're doing here on the campus relevant to the issues of the larger world. We try to stimulate in the students interest and curiosity and, above all, commitment.
You know, as I drove up here, I thought maybe things hadn't changed much. Some of the talk I overheard about girls and grades, it could have been right out of the 30s. But basically, I guess the wind shifted. you're on a new tack. And it's kind of exciting just looking in on it. I really can't tell you how much I've enjoyed it. I'd like very much to come back here.